Welcome to week 2 of Popular. We're going to jump into episode 6 in just a minute. But while you're here, I want to tell you about Make Summer Matter. Make Summer Matter is the idea that God wants to use your summer in powerful ways. Make sure you're staying up to date with Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to hear all about Make Summer Matter in the future. But for now, let's jump into episode 6. So do you ever feel lost when it comes to influence? I mean, really, do you ever feel a little bit, confused? There's popular in the idea of, all your friends at school and, what's trending on Instagram or TikTok. And then, of course, there's the popular that your parents want you to be, right? Like the idea of influence that your parents want you to have. And I think part of the problem for us is that the word influence is so attached to the word bad, right? If your parents or your, middle school or high school experience was anything like mine, you hear the words, don't be a bad influence a lot, right? Stay away from that kid, he's a bad influence, or make sure you're not a bad influence on your little sister, right? The whole idea of influence is to not be a bad or to avoid the bad. And while I don't disagree with that, I think most of the time it's actually pretty good advice. I think we forget about what we're running towards, and to be honest, we can all feel a little bit lost in this minefield of what we're supposed to be when it comes to influence. And on top of that, it can be pretty hard to want to have influence, right? Or to be a good influence. Because to be quite honest, oftentimes the idea of being a good influence seems like the same idea as being no fun at all, right? The people that your parents tell you are good influences most of the time are safe people, which means that they're not fun people. But maybe, just maybe, we're missing the whole entire point of influence and what it means to be a good influence or to build influence. Remember, the whole idea of influence or to be popular for us as followers of Jesus is so that we can leverage that influence, that popularity, so that we can help others follow Jesus. And the tricky thing is there's really no set right way for each and every person because everybody is unique. I think the best way to think about influence and building influence, specifically a good influence, is just to do the next right thing. Just do the next right thing. There's a story in Acts chapter 2. It's a part of the Bible that talks about the followers of Jesus after Jesus was with them and the things they did, the people they worked with, the ways they tried just to love God and love other people. Check this out, Acts 2:42 through 47. The believers studied what the apostles taught. The apostles are the core earliest followers of Jesus, the guys who followed Jesus around for 3 years while he was teaching and healing people and stuff. So all of the followers of Jesus studied what the original followers of Jesus taught. They shared their lives together. They ate and prayed together. Everyone was amazed at what God was doing. They were amazed when the apostles performed many wonders and signs. All the believers were together. They shared everything they had. They sold property and things they owned. They gave to anyone who needed something. Every day they met together in the temple courtyard. They ate meals together in their homes. Their hearts were glad and sincere. They praised God. They were respected by all the people. And every day the Lord added to their group those who were being saved. Now, for us as modern Christians, like, we understand what church is supposed to look like because we've grown up with it. For the last 2,000 years, followers of Jesus have been more or less like worshiping and gathering weekly and being generous and like sharing meals together and all these sort of things that you see here in Acts 2. But for the people in Acts 2, I don't think it was quite that simple. Like, think about it. These were Jewish people. This is Jerusalem. And they are literally building a new way to follow God. Like, they are following Jesus. I love how Paul says, like, Jesus is the visible image of the invisible God. So by following Jesus, these early followers were also following God. And what did they do that was so special? They did the next right thing. They hung out together because they realized that they needed to learn from each other, right? They went straight to the source and learned about the way Jesus lived from the apostles. They saw that people were hungry, and so they gave them food. And then they saw more people were hungry, and so they sold possessions so that they could have money to buy food for the people that were hungry. This was a crazy, radical group of followers of Jesus who literally changed the world. I mean, I don't know if you know your church history, but from Jerusalem, like, literally the Jewish people begin persecuting them so intensely that the Christians are pushed out to other parts of the world, and that's how the message of Jesus started to spread. So what about you? Are you feeling a little bit lost? Or are you feeling like it's more or less, this following Jesus thing is more or less just being a good kid or a bad kid? I would hope that today you see a different side of it. It's not about being a good kid or a bad kid. It's about loving God and loving others. It's about following Jesus, being like Jesus, and helping others follow Jesus. That's why we're looking to build influence, so that we can maximize that. Hey, remember, if you're feeling lost, just do the next right thing.